Today we're going to look at building your own guitar effects pedal. The pedal that we're building today is the Triboost pedal from Build Your Own Clone's website. This is the pedal right here. You don't have to be an electronics expert to build a guitar pedal. You don't even have to read a schematic. All the kits that they have there come with all the parts, the enclosure, and also some pretty good detailed step-by-step instructions. All we're going to be doing today is just following the step-by-step instructions, and I'll be kind of talking about what we're doing as we're doing it. Enjoy!
Our pedal just came in the mail here. We're going to unpack it. You can kind of see there's the stomp box. There's all of our components we're going to need to build a pedal, PC board. Now we're going to check our parts list to our parts package that came with our pedal pack. Make sure we've got all the right resistors, capacitors, and other components. Now I'm going to be spraying on the pedal case with a protective enamel. I just got this at the local hardware store here. You don't need primer. You could spend a little time getting creative real easy here. It just depends on how crazy you want to get with the design. Not so important for actually building the pedal. For this one, I'm spraying the knobs white. Alright, now we're going to start populating our circuit board. I'm going to insert our diodes first. Now we're going to start populating all of the resistors into their appropriate places. Again, we don't have to be able to read a schematic for this. We have a diagram that's included with the kit, so anybody can do this. We're going to use some tape to keep our components in place. Now we're going to cut all the leads on the back. We got to cut them nice and close to the board so we can get a good soldering joint. Now we're going to solder them up. Now we're going to take it out. Take that gaff tape off the back. You can see everything's as it should be there. Now we're going to insert, tape, and solder our trim pot, which we're going to use to help us bias our clean boost. That's one of the boosts in the pedal here. Now we're going to insert our electrolytic capacitors. We've got 4 of those. I'm going to use the same piece of tape to keep all of our components on the board there. And we're going to clip those leads. And time to solder it up. Time to install our transistors. Just like before, we're going to use the same gaff tape, cut those leads, and solder it up. Now we're going to go back and insert all the capacitors we didn't insert before. Now we're going to tape and clip it, solder it just like we did with all the other components here. Our board's coming along pretty well. Untape and check it out. Next is we're going to install our rotary switch. You can see I put that on the underside. It's important it's on the underside of the PC board in order for that to mount correctly. And I'm just going to solder everything up. Now we're going to solder in our transistor socket that we're going to plug the germanium transistor into. So now we're going to start adding our hardware to our enclosure. Here we're adding our 100K pot. We have our main switch there. Going to add the jacks. I'm going to add our input for our power supply now. Now we're going to solder 3 wires to our 100K pot. This is our first step in adding our PC board to our enclosure. Now we're going to solder the other ends of those leads to their spots on our PC board. Here we're going to loosely insert the LED in place. We don't want to clip or solder it yet. It's going to act as a guide for mounting the board to the enclosure later. Here we're going to set the rotary switch to a 3-pole position. Now it's time to insert the small switch on the top and guide those leads through the appropriate holes in the PC board, solder it up. Now we're going to go back and clip and solder the LED that we loosely inserted before. Now we've got to wire everything together. I've cut a bunch of small pieces of wire here to connect our switch to all of our other components. Again, it's important here that none of our signals are crossing over, so make sure that you have nice clean solder joints. Here we're going to solder in our battery clip. Now we're going to insert the germanium transistor into the socket that we soldered up before. It's important not to try to solder this in. The reason that there's a socket is that we don't solder it. Everything's looking pretty good. Now we're going to want to install a battery in here so we can start to bias the trim pot for our clean boost. That's the trim pot we installed earlier. Go ahead and plug your guitar into the pedal and also into your amp, and make sure your amp's at a low volume. We're going to start to bias this trim pot by playing and slowly turning up till we get a nice clean boost. What I'm using to adjust here is just a small Phillips head screwdriver. You gotta be careful because it's only soldered in there, so you don't want to be too rough. Now we've got to put on our back plate to the rest of our enclosure. And put our rubber feet on. I'm just going to add those white knobs that we spray painted earlier, and our pedal is ready to go.